Good morning. If you could all please take your seats and quiet down. We are beginning the meeting. We're going to call this meeting to order. Thank you. Good morning. This is the Tuesday, November 19th regular Board of County Commissioners meeting. We do begin each of our meetings with an invocation. This morning we have Mr. Joseph Winger from the Boulder Street, for the former pastor at the Boulder Street Church. So we invite you all to stand and pray with us.
Thank you. Thank you, leaders of our county, for serving and caring for us. I wanted to start today with 1 Peter 5:7. It says, "Cast all your cares, all your anxieties, all your worries and concerns upon him." And I ask that all of us do that in here. For he cares about us with deep affection and watches over us carefully. Let's just pause a moment here and focus and cast cares and anxieties, weights and concerns, apprehensions upon him, a God who loves us. Thank you, Lord. So, Father, we thank you for El Paso County. We love this county. I think it's the greatest county in the state. And Lord, we ask for your peace, the Prince of Peace, to come fill every heart and every aspect of our county. And I want to pray for those who lead us, our commissioners and every employee, everyone that is engaged in caring and serving and protecting our county. I pray 2 Thessalonians 1:11. We always pray for you. We ask our God to help you to live the good way he wanted when he chose you. We pray that he help you so that you continue to please him. The goodness you have makes you want to do good, and the faith you have makes you work. We also pray that God will powerfully work in you, and then you will be able to do every good thing, every good intention that you want to do. You will do the things that you want to do because you trust God. Lord, we begin these meetings with prayer because we trust you. We know we need higher grace, higher thoughts, higher impartations to care for our complexities of this world. And so today, let everything please you and let peace pervade every area in the mighty name, Hashem.
And Commissioner Vanderwerf, if you'd lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, we have completed item 1 and 2. We are on item 3.
Item number 3 is staff emergency items, and I'm unaware of any staff emergency items today.
Item 4.
Item number 4 is changes, postponements, and notice of the next meeting. I'm unaware of any changes or postponements to today's agenda, and the next meeting will be Tuesday, December 10th at 9:00 a.m.
Item 5.
Item number 5 is the consent calendar, inclusive of items 5A through 5R2.
Okay, is there anyone here who wishes to speak on an item that is on the consent calendar? Okay, do not see anyone moving forward at this time. Do we have anyone online? Okay, so I will bring it up to the commissioners for comments and motion. Or I should say.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As has been my tradition here recently, I just want to point out a couple of the items, some of the more higher dollar figure items. The first one is item 5K, which is a resolution to recognize federal revenue and appropriate expenditures in the amount of $1.2 million for the Wetland Bank Acres project. That is appropriate and necessary for water quality throughout Colorado. And then I'd also like to point out 5R2, which is approval of the trade contractor agreement and purchase order to Native Sun Construction for the construction of the Colorado Center Drainage Improvements Project, again, for the El Paso County Department of Public Works. This is $7.5 million. Another item dealing with improvement in water and water quality throughout Colorado. We do have an MS4 permit in El Paso County, and it is important for us to continue to do these good works to ensure that that permit remains viable and in place. And it's just, I think, important to point those out. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, is there?
Thank you,
Commissioner
Madam
Gonzalez?
Chair. I did want to highlight as well, 5R2 was mentioned already by a fellow commissioner, but the purchase order of the $7.5 million drainage improvements for Colorado Center, we're seeing additional, once that is completed, the road improvements to Colorado Center. So we've been working on that for several years now. It's a slow process, and so I appreciate the residents in that area for their patience. It's overdue, but we're getting to it, and I'm very proud of the fact we will be having a groundbreaking on construction down there in Colorado Center in early December. Thank you.
Okay, with that, is there a motion?
I move approval of the consent calendar.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. I will call the roll. Commissioner Williams.
Aye.
Commissioner Vanderwerf.
Aye.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
Aye.
Vice Chair Bremer.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. That passes 5-0. Item 6.
Item number 6 is the proclamation recognizing Pearl Harbor Day. Stan Vanderwerf, Commissioner, Board of County Commissioners.
Commissioner Vanderwerf.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I believe there are a few people here that are going to be coming forward to speak, so if you could make your way up to the podium at this time while I read the proclamation, I would appreciate it. And just come on up if you're part of this ceremony. Thank you. All right, what I'd like to do now is start this reading. I'd like to make a motion to approve the proclamation recognizing Pearl Harbor Day. Whereas 83 years have passed since Japan's surprise attack on Pearl Harbor on December 7th, 1941, and only a few survivors are left to recall that shocking day. Even after they are gone, the memory of that tragic day is branded on the collective American consciousness. And whereas this attack resulted in more than 2,350 deaths, 1,178 wounded, and brought devastation to the United States Pacific Fleet and its Air Force. And whereas on this day, several American naval ships were lost, including the USS Arizona, which to this day is the final resting place of 1,102 brave soldiers and Marines entombed therein. And whereas December 7, 1941, a date that will live in infamy, brought the United States out of isolation and into the Second World War to support the Allies, who had been fighting a bitter war in Europe for the 2 previous years. And whereas this sneak attack kindled the righteous fury of the United States of America, triggering our emergence as a great nation and benign power in the most devastating war of modern times, a global conflict against Nazism and fascism that ended in resounding victory. And whereas, let us extend our gratitude and love to the 407,316 American soldiers who paid the ultimate price, and remind ourselves that their sacrifice was for a cause, not for conquest, but for a world that could enjoy the blessings of freedom for future generations. And whereas, through the untold measure paid in precious lives, the United States ultimately won the titanic struggle and achieved the final victory. Now, therefore, the Board of El Paso County Commissioners hereby recognizes December 7, 2024 as Pearl Harbor Day in El Paso County, Colorado, and urges all citizens to set aside time on that day to reflect on the profound bravery of all those who served and who gave their last full measure of devotion on that fateful day. Done this 19th day of November 2024 at Colorado Springs, Colorado. The Board of El Paso County Commissioners of El Paso County, Colorado, signed Carrie Geithner, Chair, Cami Bremer, Vice Chair, Lejinos Gonzalez Jr., Stan Vanderwerf, and Holly Williams, members, and attested to and signed by Steve Schleicher, County Clerk and Recorder. Do I have a second?
Second.
Madam Chair.
Thank you. I want to thank you all for being here. We have several speakers here today, so if you want to obviously begin, just introduce yourself, and then you can each come forward. We appreciate your time today.
All right. Well, good morning. My name is Lisanne McNew, and I have the honor of serving as the chair for the Colorado Springs Military Affairs Council. As we approach the solemn anniversary of Pearl Harbor, we reflect on the most defining moments in our nation's history. December 7th, 1941 marked a day of unimaginable loss and unparalleled bravery, a surprise attack that forever changed the world. Today, we honor the courage of the men and women who stood steadfast in the face of devastating assault, as well as the countless heroes who served during World War II. Their sacrifices on the battlefield, in the skies, and across the seas ensured the freedoms we hold so dear. The resilience and determination of our World War II veterans remind us of the incredible strength it takes to defend liberty. Their stories of courage, sacrifice, and unity continue to inspire us and serve as a beacon for future generations. Let us honor their memory, not only with words, but with actions, by cherishing the freedoms they fought for and striving to uphold the values they so selflessly defended. May their legacies live on as a reminder of our responsibility to safeguard peace and freedom for generations to come. With that, I'd like to ask Dave Griffin to come up and share his personal story.
Thanks, Lisanne. Good morning. My name is Dr. Dave Griffin. I'm from Vancouver, Washington, and I came in especially for this event to share the story of my grandfather. Up on the screen, you can see a picture of him. So thank you for the opportunity to share this story about the first Coloradan and first American serviceman killed in World War II. That is the first. And I'm in here in the tradition of the Hawaiian remembrances of Pearl Harbor that we do when we go to Hawaii, with the lei to remember that from, the shirt, and the white pants. In the next few minutes, I hope to share with you how a quiet, humble, soft-spoken man brought courage, honor, service, and sacrifice to protect Colorado Springs and the United States in the most brave way, by swimming out into danger, knowing against immeasurable odds that he would probably die. My question for all of us in this room, including my colleagues behind me and these young folks over here at the side, becomes, with the passage as time goes on, with no living servicemen, Stan, none of them are alive anymore, no more firsthand observers of Pearl Harbor. How do we tell those events? Does just family members like me come talk to you and share a story? How do we recognize and honor and remember arguably the most heroic Navy man Colorado Springs has ever seen? But more important, how do these current and future generations learn the lessons of freedom? Because folks, that's what it's about. There you go. The arrow goes to, he gave his today for our tomorrow, and your tomorrow is what you're experiencing today, because without yesterday, you wouldn't have it today, by people giving their lives for freedom. This is a picture of my grandfather when he was in high school. He loved Colorado Springs. He used to hunt and fish. He worked for the Gazette Telegraph Company for 5 years. He graduated from Colorado Springs High School, which is now Palmer High School. And at age 19, he joined the Navy, and while on the USS Saratoga, he caught the aviation bug and decided to go on to become a naval aviation pilot. And in March of '41, he was transferred over to Kaneohe Bay as an aviation machinist mate, first class, Naviation pilot. He didn't go through the ranks to become a pilot like most people did. They were officers. He raised up through the ranks to become one. It's a picture of my grandmother and he. They were the love of each other's lives. She would always tell us that years after he had passed away. My aunt was 7 years old and my dad was 14 months old at the time of the attack. At age 30, my grandfather was really the old guy in the crowd. They used to invite young servicemen over to their house for dinner, and he was just kind of a soft-spoken, thin guy. And in his own special way, he decided to fill in for one of his friends who drank too much the night before and was getting all kinds of trouble on December 7th, 1941, to take the morning duty for him. So, don't drink. All right, there we go. So PBY-5 Catalina was his plane. It's a twin-engine flying boat. It doesn't have any wheels, so it doesn't go up on land. It's in the water, and to get to the plane, you have to ferry out to where it's moored, and usually you do that by a rowboat or a little motorboat. And the Japanese really wanted to knock these planes out because they were reconnaissance planes. They could go over 2,000 miles because they had fuel all through their wings and get out to the aircraft carriers. So the Japanese didn't want us to know where they were, so they wanted to get rid of those planes first. So on 1941, December 7th, the attack happened as a surprise to everyone. Most people don't know that the attack first happened in Kaneohe. It was because they wanted to knock out those planes first. They came at 7:48 in the morning and Pearl Harbor was at 7:55. Here's a map of Oahu. If you look at that lower right-hand corner in the northeast, you see Kaneohe. And then over in the central south, you see Pearl Harbor. You see first attack, second attack. Well, remember, the first attack had to go all the way around the island. The second attack got there first. So what happened was my grandfather saw it was happening and he swam out to his plane. We don't know how far, maybe 100 yards. Got out to that plane, they started the engines with the other pilot. They tried to take off out of the water. They got about 50 feet off and they got shot down, burst into flames. He was badly burned, and while swimming to shore, he was shot through the head by a Japanese bullet and died instantly. His body was lost for 5 days, and later the pieces of crab that hadn't got to him was put into a mass grave. Let's see. Here you go. And that was on December 12th. Admiral Chester Nimitz, the commander-in-chief of the Pacific Fleet, recognized him for his prompt, efficient action, utter disregard of personal danger in the defense of the Naval Air Station, Kaneohe Bay. But he protected more than Kaneohe Bay. He protected his family, and he really protected all of us. Here's his destroyer escort that was named after him. Yes, he had a ship named after him, the USS Daniel T. Griffin, that worked throughout the World War II, and he also received a Purple Heart posthumously. What am I doing here? There we go. Whoop. So here was the issue here. Split-second decision, kids. What are you going to do? Save your family or save your country? And so here's the deal. My grandmother was on the porch of their house on the military base. She saw it all. Saw his plane take off, get shot down, burst into flames into the water. She had no idea what happened to him. Kids were there, had to be hidden because they were afraid they're going to get hit. My dad was in a root cellar where a bomb hit nearby and caused a concussion. He had to have 3 surgeries. Still has problems with his eyes to this day. And here's Lucille over here with loads of love, Lucille. So Lucille or the flag? This picture was taken when he was reinterred. You guys know what reinterred means over here? You got buried up and moved back to the place where you grew up at, okay? So he got pulled up and buried over here in Colorado Springs on the right there. And that picture is quite famous, really, because most people don't know about it, but this story was lost for 68 years. So the forgotten hero of Colorado Springs was lost from 47 to 2015 and was found by the Pikes Peak Library archivist, quiet in the back, about the whole idea of Bill Thomas. He's a U.S. Army Chief Warrant Officer retired. He found this picture and he said, what is this? What's this all about? He researched it and found out there was a person behind this and there was a real story to it. And he connected to our family out in California and also to Captain Greg Thomas, who's here today with us, who's from the Doherty High School Navy Junior ROTC. Greg, please stand. Greg's done a fabulous job of connecting kids to the story at the Doherty High School, but that's only one high school. So what do we do about the forgotten World War II hero? Dan, the proclamation was great. I love it, but it's only a day. What happened to all the kids in Colorado Springs who don't get to realize what freedom really is about? These sacrifices for liberty and things that are done. So that's really what I see this about, you guys. I'm happy to come talk to you every year if you wanted, but I'm gonna get old too, and I'm gonna die. You're gonna die. So how do we teach our current and future generations about bravery, sacrifice, and freedom? You have a unique story in Colorado Springs, the first man killed. I haven't been to Colorado Springs till a couple months ago. I came for the first time and went out to Evergreen Cemetery and saw my grandfather's grave. But there's a lot to be told, and you should be very proud of what he did. He was a hometown boy who did you well. With that, I'd like to say that for anybody who's interested, any of the commissioners or anybody here in the crowd would like to learn more about my grandfather, I'm happy to talk about it. Greg and I will be around, and we are in the process of a memorial statue for him we're hoping to put together. So if you want to help out in that project, we'd love to chat with you. On behalf of the Daniel T. Griffin Memorial Volunteers, which is myself, Greg, Bill Thomas you saw up there, and Kim Palomka, who is a muralist, I have a gift to present to the commissioners. This was done by Bill Thomas.
For our audience members, while we are all very moved by this, I do just want to remind you, we try to keep decorum in this chamber. We typically hold all of our applause, just so we're consistent with that. So please do hold your applause.
Thank you all for listening.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the board. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests and fellow citizens, good morning. It is both an honor and privilege to stand before you today as we come together to recognize and honor the brave men and women who have served in our military, as well as to remember the events of December 7th, 1941, a day that forever changed the course of history. And so for those who don't know me, my name is Justin Verholst. I am the operations manager at Mount Carmel Veterans Service Center here in Colorado Springs. And we are a nonprofit designed to do exactly that, to serve military veterans and their families. And we choose to honor the memory of those we lost on December 7, 1941 by continuing to serve not only past military, but present as well. And it's important to look to the past and serve these veterans because, we stand by a very important mission at Mount Carmel, to offer boots on the ground services and to not let anybody fall through the cracks. I just wanted to say I'm honored to be here, and we have I'm excited to mention a new program we started. When it comes to the older generation of veterans, and we move into the digital world, it is hard to navigate technology. So we have launched a program called our Digital Navigator Program to help those veterans with those technological barriers when it comes to disability claims and what have you. But it is important I'm standing here today to say it is very important to never forget and to never waver, because in this line of work, I've noticed that this community, when it comes to our community of El Paso County, there is no barriers when it comes to honoring our nation's military. And it's brief, but that's what I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you. And I think is there anyone else that's here for this proclamation that would like to come up and speak? There are a few of you back there. Okay, with that, I will bring it up to the dais for commissioners. Commissioner Williams.
Yes, I would just like to especially thank those who've come out today to speak, but especially Dave Griffin. That was a very good story. I'm reminded of my family members, uncles who served in World War II, and very proud of them for having served. Very thankful that they were able to come home alive, that we lost so many individuals, but it was a good fight for freedom, and we had to do that at that time. It is something that we should always keep in our memory. Thank you.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and loved hearing the story. That's the kind of stuff, as a retired Air Force officer, we see the loss of life, whether friends or co-workers in the military. And luckily, it's only, for me, been a handful where, during war, you see the person on your left, the person on your right, likely potentially of passing away. And during that, when so many did give their lives for our country. And so I just thank you for that story. Thank you for all the support. And I see a couple other veterans in the group as well. Want to remember on this day, those who fought, lived through, or didn't live through Pearl Harbor, but also just remember all the great dedication that all our military do for us even today. But those are kind of stories that really bring back all the, that heartfelt dedication and sacrifice that we've seen so many go through. And so those that, whether they survived or didn't survive, their families and our country were affected. And so it's just great to see this always, as you said, as we ourselves start passing along, let's not forget this. Let's remember this and why it's so important for our country. Thank you.
Vice Chair Bremer.
Thank you. Mr. Griffin, thank you for being here today, and our other speakers. I can't see behind the monitor there. Thank you very much for making sure that not only the people in this room, but those listening and watching online, and those who watch what we do in our meetings. You have taken that opportunity today to share it much wider than even those in this room. So thank you very, very much. And I'm pleased to hear that NJROTC at Doherty and at other area high schools continues to not only teach the leadership qualities that clearly your grandfather had in him, but also continues to bring attention to things that are sadly too easily forgotten. And that's why we do these proclamations. We want to ensure that that the community understands long-term impacts, and that we have the opportunity to talk about those who were not a part. Those who are not a part of the greatest generation, that we continue to talk about those who gave the ultimate sacrifices and what it was like to live during that time, to have your grandmother then have to raise two young kids on her own. And clearly she did a great job of making sure you knew of your grandfather's legacy. So just calling attention to stories like that, that was one of the more impactful personal stories we've had with any of these proclamations in the 6 years I've been up here doing that. So just thank you for sharing your family. The irony of what happened at my house this morning is weighing on me as I look at this audience, because I made my 10-year-old son go to bed slightly later than his bedtime last night because he was listening to the ever-popular I Survived series, which happened to be the I Survived Pearl Harbor. And he woke up this morning. I made him go to bed. He had like 10 minutes left in the book last night, but I made him go to bed because it was way too late, and today's a school day. He woke up this morning. He was completely ready. He'd done everything. He came downstairs and he's like, "Mom, we have some time before I go to school. Can I finish this?" And at the end of each of those books are these little facts. If you're listening to it on Audible, it's the last 5 minutes of the book. But he's like, no, stop. I need to listen to the rest of this. I listened to the story, and now I need to listen to all these facts about Pearl Harbor. And so we were a few minutes late to school because I let my child listen to the facts in a book that has taken world events, a series that has taken world events and made them applicable to the future generations. So to realize that all happened this morning, and then I walked in here and I know what's coming in the future sections of this agenda is pretty interesting. But thank you for helping tie it all together, for making sure that it's something that our community will never forget, and we will never forget the sacrifices of your family and of so many others. And the impact on this region as well, that it really kind of comes home in a lot of ways right here with so many dedicated military service members who have given all and continue to give all, and their families continue to live with the decisions to serve this nation that were made long before they were here. So thanks for being here today. Honored to vote for this, Madam Chair.
I do want to say thank you. When I heard that you were coming and flying in, just especially for this, I was incredibly impressed, and I'm further impressed by your story and your appeal that we continue to figure out ways to make sure that our younger generations understand this. I agree, your story was completely moving, and you may not know this commission very well, not being a resident here, but we obviously have 2 veterans, and we have 2 veteran spouses. And so this is very near and dear to my heart. And as you were telling that story about a wife watching, I can tell you that it reminded me of my husband's deployment and the incredible emotion. I can't even imagine being there and seeing it, and to understand how much more emotion there was than what I experienced as a military spouse is truly incredible. And I do think that we have got to find more and more ways to help people understand that, especially when less than 1% of our country serves in the military. To find ways to help them see and understand those sacrifices and what it means to be so selfless and have such a love for this country. That is so tremendous. What the pure selfless nature of what your grandfather did. To put country and to love it so much. It's almost unfathomable to comprehend how much you love your country and your fellow man to make that kind of sacrifice, and the bravery to absolutely just jump into a dangerous situation in that way. It is certainly something that we need to continue to instill in future generations. So I appreciate that. I have already sent a text message reaching out to some of my friends over at D11 who are looking at doing a renovation of Palmer. I think there would be a great connection there for you, and I'd love to get you connected to so many other people in our community and figure out what are the ways that we are able to do that, because I think, to your point, this is very, very important. So I'm very happy to vote for this proclamation today and continue to recognize this, but I'm very grateful that you took the time to be here, because I think it is going to potentially open up other doors for us to connect and make sure that we are able to honor that legacy, and not just that legacy, but the ideas that embody what your grandfather did for our nation. So with that, I will turn it over to Commissioner Vanderwerf.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I also want to thank everybody that came here today. Mr. Griffin, thank you for being there. I can't see you because the monitor's in the way, but I know you're back there. I see the hand now. Thank you. I'd also like to thank Lisanne and Justin, Bill Thomas, Kim Palumba, and Captain Thomas. Thank you for all of you being here. This has been really a great ceremony, and we have done this every year that I've been a county commissioner to honor those that participated in Pearl Harbor Day and then all of what came afterwards. We also had another person that lived in Colorado Springs for many years that was actually one of the survivors on the USS Arizona during the Pearl Harbor attack. His name was Donald Stratton. And one of the great honors that I have had as a county commissioner was to go to the Colorado legislature, ask for a proclamation to get a bridge named after him. And for those of you that don't know, if you drive on I-25 and go under the Fillmore Bridge, you'll see a sign to the right, and that is the Donald G. Stratton Memorial Bridge today. So we were able to name a bridge after them. I find it ironic, by the way, that in a town full of Army and Air Force people, the only two bridges named for somebody are both named after Navy people. So if you came from the Navy, you can be exceptionally proud. You're batting 100%. It is important, though, to continue to tell these stories so that young people and all of us can be reminded of the sacrifices that were made. I find it very, very interesting also that it is because of Daniel T. Griffin's sacrifice and the sacrifice of millions of others, whether if that was the ultimate sacrifice in giving their life or just simply serving to defend the nation, it is because of them that everybody in this room can be here today to protest on an issue and to speak freely. That is precious. That is special. And I'm so proud that, no matter where everybody stands on whatever position, I'm so proud that people stand up for what they believe in and actually exercise their rights, their right to free speech. Not every person around the world has that right. That is really something special. And it's again because of Daniel T. Griffin and others that we have that right. I find it also very interesting for those of you that may remember, the following day, December 8 of 1941, President Franklin Roosevelt spoke to Congress and requested a declaration of war. Immediately following that speech, Congress declared war. But President Franklin Roosevelt did state that from the very beginning of the attack on Pearl Harbor, that the United States existed in a state of war. He wanted to make it clear that World War II began at the very beginning of the attack of the Japanese on Pearl Harbor. What that actually means is that Daniel T. Griffin was the very first American casualty of World War II. Now, there were Americans that had died before that day, but they were serving in other forces around the world. Many people, for example, being pilots, had gone to serve in the British Air Force and fight in Europe prior to that date. But Daniel T. Griffin was the very first casualty while the United States was in a state of war. And Mr. Griffin came from here. This is a piece of Colorado Springs legacy. I think this is really important, and we need to tell this story around Colorado Springs that the very first casualty of World War II was a Colorado Springs native that went to Palmer High School. That's really remarkable. And it just speaks to, I think, the dedication and the sacrifice of our citizens here to continue to defend the nation. So I thank everybody for being here. I'd like to thank all that participated in the production of this proclamation. I was proud to read it as a veteran myself, as was stated before. By the way, a Bronze Star decorated combat disabled veteran. And so those are my remarks. And Madam Chair, maybe we could at this time proceed to a vote.
Okay, we will go ahead and proceed with that vote. Commissioner Williams.
Aye.
Commissioner Vanderwerf,
Aye.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Aye.
Vice Chair Bremer.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. That passes 5-0. We will take a brief recess to do a photograph, and we'll return to the meeting after that. Okay, we are returning this meeting to order. And we are on item 7.
Item number 7 is the Thanksgiving Day Proclamation 2024. Carrie Geithner, Chair, Board of County Commissioners.
I'd like to move a proclamation recognizing Thanksgiving Day 2024. Whereas in 1621, after surviving the previous winter in Plymouth, Massachusetts, the Pilgrims, alongside Native Americans, celebrated a feast to give thanks for a good harvest. And whereas George Washington proclaimed the first National Day of Thanksgiving in 1789 to recognize the role of Providence in creating the United States and the new federal constitution. And whereas Abraham Lincoln revived the tradition during the Civil War, and since that time our citizens have set aside Thanksgiving Day to express thanks for the bounty of blessings we enjoy. And whereas the citizens of El Paso County recognize the significance of gathering in unity to express gratitude for the many blessings we enjoy. And whereas we acknowledge the guiding hand of divine providence in our lives, just as the Pilgrims did when they celebrated their first Thanksgiving, and as the motto on Colorado's state seal proclaims, nil sine numine, nothing without providence. And whereas the United States of America, with its foundation in liberty and justice, continues to stand as a testament to the enduring values that we celebrate, much like the principles of self-governance and community spirit exhibited by the Pilgrims at Plymouth. And whereas our community, bound by shared values and spirit of cooperation, has thrived through the collective efforts of its people, much in the same way the early settlers of our nation worked together to build a new life on these shores. Therefore, the Board of County Commissioners of El Paso County, Colorado, hereby declares November 28, 2024 as Thanksgiving Day in our county and calls upon all residents to express gratitude for the freedoms we possess, the relationships we each cherish, and the faith that guides us, while also reaching out to support those in need, just as the early settlers shared their harvest. Done this 19th day of November 2024 at Colorado Springs, Colorado. Signed the Board of County Commissioners of El Paso County, Colorado, Carrie Geithner, Chair, Cami Bremer, Vice Chair, Lojinos Gonzalez Jr., Stan Vanderwerf, and Holly Williams, members, and attested to by Steve Schleicher, County Clerk and Recorder.
Second.
Okay, that has been moved and seconded, and we have a very special performance today from St. Gabriel's Classical Academy Children's Choir. And so I would invite you to come forward. Before we begin, if you have anything that you'd like to share, I would invite you to tell us anything about the choir or anything that you'd like to share.
Okay, thank you for having us, Madam Chair. And we are St. Gabriel Classical Academy, but this is the 7th and 8th graders. We were asked last week to sing We Gather Together. I thought everyone knew it, but we learned it in about 4 practices. So please bear with us. We also learned you don't have a piano, so we are thankful to have a father that offered to come play for us on the guitar. So we'll be singing We Gather Together, and if you all want to sing along, we love it. That's what we often do. We lead worship at St. Gabriel's at St. Gabriel's Catholic Parish. So feel free to sing along if you know it.
Thank you.
I'll see from distress.